Daf Yomi Tractate Bava Batra, page 27b, part 2. And we're starting with the Mishnah with the words Ilan Shehu Nota L'Sadeh Chavero. With regard to a tree that leans into the field of another, the neighbor may cut the branches to the right. The neighbor may cut the branches to the height of an ox goad raised over the plow in places where the land is to be plowed, so that the branches do not impede the use of the plow. And in the case of a carob tree, and in the case of a sycamore tree, whose abundance of branches casts shade that is harmful to plants, all the branches overhanging one's property may be removed along the plumb line. In other words, along the line perpendicular to the boundary separating the fields. And if the neighbor's field is an irrigated field, all branches of the tree are removed along the plumb line. Abba Shaul says all barren trees are cut along the plumb line. Mishkolet is a plumb line. What's a plumb line? I guess it's like some kind of whatever. Mishkolet is Gematria Shimon Kadosh. Yeah. Okay. Is he a plumb line? Anyway, the Gemara says Iboilahu. But what is a plumb line? Seriously. Does anybody know? Wonders of modern technology. Internet knows. Plumb bob. Plumb line. A line with a plumb attached to it. Used for finding the depth of water or determining the vertical on an upright surface. It's a measuring thing. Plumb bob. Establish a vertical datum. It's a measuring zach. The Gemara says, Yibar Lahu. That's our word for the day. Plumb line. What's the Gematria plumb line in English? 104. How about plumb bob? Anybody? Plumb bob? Plumb bob. Plumb line. Let's see. 83. Gemara says, Yiboilahu, a dilemma was raised before them. Is Abba Shaul referring to the first clause in the Mishnah, which states that a tree extending into a neighbor's field is cut only to the height of an ox goad? And Abba Shaul maintains that barren trees have the same halacha as carob and sycamore trees, in that they are cut along the plumb line. Or it doesn't really make sense the way plumb line is defined here. Doesn't really make sense. I mean, the way they're describing here in the Gemara, maybe the translators of this Talmud have a slightly different meaning of what plumb line is. Anyway. Or is he referring to the latter clause, which discusses an irrigated field, and he permits cutting only barren trees along the plumb line, but not fruit trees? The Gemara answers come in here. a resolution to this dilemma. As it is taught in Braita, with regard to an irrigated field, Abba Shaul says, all types of trees are cut along the plumb line because the shade is harmful to an irrigated field. This shows that he does not dispute the halakha of the latter clause. Learn from it that it is referring to the first clause of the Mishnah. The Gemara affirms, learn from it that it is so. Learn from it that it is so. Learn from it that it is so. Rav Ashi said that the wording of the Mishnah is also precise. Masnisan dekanami. Masnisanami deka is Gematria 1175, which in Atbash is Gematria 713, which is the day of the Donald Trump assassination attempt, July 13th. Masnisan dekanami diktani. Okay, Rav Ashi said that the wording of the Mishnah is also precise, as it teaches all barren trees, granted. If you say Abba Shaul is referring to the first clause of the Mishnah, this is the reason that Abba Shaul teaches all barren trees. But if you say that he is referring to the latter clause, he should have simply said barren trees, as the first time permits one to cut down any type of tree. Rather, isn't it correct to conclude from it that he is referring to the first clause? The Gemara affirms, learn from it, that it is so. Shema Mina. Shema Mina. What's Shema Mina? 515, which is Atbash 168. And there are 168 verses in Parshas Pinchas. And we are now in Parshas Pinchas. Shema Mina. Nice. Mishnah. New Mishnah. With regard to a tree that extends into the public domain, one cuts its branches so that a camel can pass beneath the tree with its rider on it. It is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of the needle than for a rich man to get into heaven. But is it easier for a camel to pass beneath a tree with its rider on it? Maybe it's easier. Yehuda says one cuts enough branches that a camel loaded with flax or bundles of branches can pass beneath it. Rabbi Shimon says one cuts all branches of the tree that extend into the public domain along the plumb line, so that they do not hang over the public area at all, due to ritual purity. The Gemara asks, who is the Tana that taught that with regard to damage one follows the current assessment, and future damage is not taken into account? The Mishnah states that the tree's branches are cut to the height of a camel, and its rider or load, but no more, despite the fact that they will certainly grow again. Reish Lakish says This halacha is taught in a dispute. And it is the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer, as we learned in the Mishnah 60a, that one may not take an empty space between the public domain by digging pits, ditches, or caves. Rabbi Eliezer permits one to dig a pit if it is subsequently covered with material strong enough that a wagon loaded with stones can travel on it without collapsing. If the cover can withstand such weight when the pit is dug, it is permitted, despite the fact that the cover might eventually rot. Rabbi Yochanan said, you may even say that the Mishnah here represents the opinion of the rabbis, who prohibit one from digging beneath the public domain under any circumstances. The difference is that there, the cover will occasionally deteriorate as this matter is not on his mind and will cause damage. But here, each branch grows, he cuts it off. As each branch grows, he cuts it off. Since the potential cause of damage is visible, there is no concern that it might be neglected. The Mishnah teaches that if the branches of a tree extend into the public domain, one may cut them to allow a camel and its rider to pass underneath. Rabbi Yehuda says one cuts enough branches that a camel loaded with flax or bundles of branches can pass beneath it. A dilemma was raised before the sages. Is Rabbi Yehuda's measure greater, or is it perhaps the rabbi's measure greater? Which reaches a greater height, a camel and a rider, or a camel loaded with flax? The Gemara answers, it is obvious that the rabbi's measure is greater. As if it enters your mind that Rabbi Yehuda's measure is greater, how would the rabbis act in a circumstance of Rabbi Yehuda's measure? It is clear that a camel will have to pass beneath the tree with a burden, and it would not be able to do so. The Gemara expresses surprise at this claim. Rather, what then would you say? That the rabbi's measure is greater? If so, how would Rabbi Yehuda act in the circumstance of the rabbi's measure? It is also clear that a camel will have to pass there with its rider. The Gemara answers, it is possible for the rider to bend over and to pass underneath the branches. The Mishnah teaches that Rabbi Shimon says one cuts all branches of the tree that extend into the public domain along the plumb line due to ritual impurity. The Gemara explains a Tana taught in a Brita that this is due to ritual impurity imparted in a tent. Branches over a corpse might create a tent, thereby transferring impurity to whatever is beneath the branches, rendering impure those passing under the tree in the public domain. The Gemara expresses surprise at the statement. It is obvious that this is the reason. We already learned that it is due to ritual impurity. How else could ritual impurity be transferred through branches other than by means of a tent? The Gemara answers, if this is learned from the Mishnah alone, I would say that the concern is that perhaps a crow might bring a source of impurity and perch on the tree's branches and throw it there. And if that were the only concern, a mere scarecrow would be sufficient. Bedachlule. That's a good one. Bidachlule is a scarecrow in Aramaic. It's a good one. Bidachlule. 90. The scarecrow. Bidachlule be'alma. Amir. See here. And if that were the concern, a mere scarecrow would be sagi. Sagi. Bidachlule be'alma. Bidachluli. A mere scarecrow would be sufficient to frighten the crows away and prevent that type of impurity. Therefore, the Tana of the Braita teaches us that the concern is due to impurity imparted in a tent. This concludes Perek Yachbor of Bava Batra. Yes.